Welcome to Inside the Mastermind. Today I'm here with our local real estate expert, Jack Campbell. We're going to talk about the hot topic right now, ADUs.
ADUs.
But what is an ADU? Let's break it down pretty simply.
It's an additional dwelling unit.
Okay.
To make it really simple, it's anything that you would add to your existing residence that is designed to house people. You know, so if you're building a shed, that's not an ADU, right? But it's intentionally you're adding something, an additional dwelling unit, to house more people.
So why would somebody want an ADU?
Well, there's a handful of reasons. They've been really popular lately, and everybody's talking about them.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest one is obviously we've got a housing crunch here in California. And so that's led a lot of people to want, you know, the government starting to really push and promote people adding ADUs to their existing, you know, to their existing lot. Why people want them, there's a lot of different reasons. You know, obviously we've got people wanting to create rental income with them, so they're wanting to use them as a rental to find some other way to leverage their property for financial reasons. You've got people wanting to expand, you know, their household. You know, a lot of times you've got either multi-generational living where you've got some parents that either they're aging or it's a financial benefit for them to move in the same residence to save the money. Yeah. But you know, the concept of having everybody living in everybody's own space is kind of a burden.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then sometimes there's a hybrid of the two where you know, for a few years you're planning on using it this way, and then you're intending to transition the use into, you know, into using it as a rental. You know, you use it for family first, then rental, or have that option to use it as a guest home for visitors and things like that. So we see quite a bit of all those options.
It's just so crazy. I mean, it's so logical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put an accessory dwelling unit on your property. You have so many different options with it. But is it really hard to get one on your property?
Well, there's a lot of things to consider. You know, if you have an existing home, there's a lot of different ways you can add a unit. Okay. So some people will take their existing home and carve a space out of their existing residence and separate that from the rest of the residence, and that can be considered an ADU. So that's one way you can do it, right? Where you're not really having to build a whole brand new structure, but you're creating two unique separated spaces. Okay. Some people then decide that they want to add a whole separate arm onto their existing residence and turn that into an ADU, you know, make that an ADU. Then there are ADUs that are completely separate structures that are ADUs. Then there's also the conversion of a garage. Oh, yeah. I've seen that done also, where people will convert their garage to a legal ADU. Then we've also seen those where we've helped some folks actually add ADUs on top of their garages. Wow. Which is an interesting option too. So they've wanted to expand their existing garage and put a ADU on top to basically fund the expansion of their garage and getting more space for themselves. So that's kind of the variety of different things that we've seen over time.
And that's how you could build this. So are permits hard to get? How do you go upon getting this allowed? Because you have to permit an ADU.
Oh, absolutely. You know, so as far as permitting goes, depending on what area you're in, if you're in an incorporated city or in San Diego County as a whole, determines who you go to figure out the regulations. Okay. Right. So everybody's a little bit different, but for the most part, all of the cities and even the county have come to a point where they've been encouraged by the state to streamline this whole permitting process. Yeah. Some of them have even gone so far as to create pre-approved ADU plans. Oh, nice. So it's almost like, here you go, if you use this plan, it's already approved. And they streamline it. I was just recently at the county, at San Diego County, and they actually waive all of the permitting fees right now.
And those are expensive. Those could be really expensive.
Yeah, I mean, we've had permitting fees on residential projects, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 easy.
On top of the build.
Yeah, on top of the build. So to have that stuff streamlined and have it prioritized within the organization is huge. I mean, it's the difference between you pulling your hair out of your head and not.
Yeah, and it seems like ADUs are becoming more accessible. Everybody can do them now because of this permitting process and because of the variety of ways you can add on, add up. So you don't need 17 acres to build an ADU.
No, not at all. In fact, it's interesting because most of these properties have traditional setbacks, meaning that a setback is from your property line where you're required based on building code and zoning to not build within 10 or 15 feet of your property line, keeping you distanced away from your neighbors.
Okay.
And most of these new regulations allow you to actually encroach within that space.
Wow.
Some of them as much as 5 feet away from your property line, which is a big deviation from what it's been just even a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Wow.
So it's huge. So you can actually fit ADUs in places where you wouldn't imagine. And if you're not familiar with the new codes or haven't been in and around the ADUs and researching them, it's hard to really fathom where you can and can't put something. But it's kind of cool that they're making it so easy.
You seem so knowledgeable about this. I mean, when I think of a real estate agent, I think all you're doing is buying and selling houses. But you're a great resource for clients to come to after they buy a home or in the home buying process to say, hey, can I do this, or this is what we're thinking about for our family.
Right.
And you could totally help them through this.
Yeah, and a lot of times I have clients who I work with.
Yeah.
Actually, I always have clients on an ongoing basis. Almost at any given time, I'm always working with at least one person who is in the process of purchasing a property that wants to make sure that property can be added on with an ADU or something can be added to it. So part of that process is helping them through the research of making sure that whatever their plans are going to work with the site that they're purchasing. So it's a pretty common thing for me to work through. Yeah.
Jack Campbell, your one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the stuff that I know pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, and thanks for giving us all this great information about ADUs.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time, Molly.